Supergirl needs $315 million to break even. That's the number Deadline printed. That's the number every outlet is repeating. And that number is a lie. The real figure is over $100 million higher. And here's what makes this worth 10 minutes of your time. The gap between those numbers isn't a mistake. It's not bad maths. It's maths designed to do a job. And the question this video answers is, whose job? Let me break this down for you. When a trade prints a break-even number, most people read it as accounting. Like someone at Warner Brothers ran a spreadsheet, wiped a tear from their eye, and bravely handed the truth to a journalist. That is adorable. And it is not how any of this works. Nobody outside the studio will ever see the real spreadsheet, the marketing spend, the co-financing deals, the streaming value. None of it is public. So the number that gets printed is the number someone wanted printed. Break-even figures are one of the most quietly political stats in this entire industry, dressed up as arithmetic. And once you accept that, the interesting question is never, is the number right? The question is, who benefits from this number being the one we all repeat? So let's do the maths they're not doing. A studio does not keep your ticket money. I know, devastating. The cinema takes roughly half domestically. Go international and it gets worse. In some markets, the studio's seeing maybe a quarter of every ticket. Then marketing. A global tentpole campaign on a film like this is $100 million plus. And that's before they've designed a single cursed popcorn bucket. Which is why the industry rule of thumb exists. A film needs roughly 2.5 times its production budget to actually break even theatrically. On $175 million, that's somewhere around $425 to $440 million. Not 315. So Deadline's number isn't off by a rounding error. It's off by more than $100 million. Which in any other profession gets you fired. And in entertainment journalism gets you cited. And I'll put that against where this film actually is. Supergirl is tracking for a $55 million domestic opening. You know what else opened at $55 million? The Flash. Similar budget territory, a much more famous character, and it finished under $300 million worldwide. Deadline's own end-of-year accounting had it losing Warner Brothers around $155 million. The Marvels is the same story but worse, opened soft, collapsed, and became the biggest write-down in Marvel's history. So naturally the lesson Hollywood took from all of this was, do it again, but with a character fewer people know. Like, this is not a hypothetical pattern. Superhero films front load, they open on the fan base and then they fall off a cliff. A $55 million opening with a $425 million bar is not a tight race. It's a film that needs legs this genre hasn't had since about 2019. But here's where it gets properly interesting. Because we watched this exact game play out last summer in the opposite direction. Before Superman came out, reports started circulating that it needed $700 million to be a success. Some said $650 million just to break even. And James Gunn went off, called the numbers absolutely false, said only idiots would greenlight a first film in the franchise needing that kind of return, which fair. Though it's funny how the math is absolutely false when it's working against you, and gospel when your own film gets handed a nice friendly $315 million. Anyway, those $700 million numbers were almost certainly leaked by people who wanted Superman to look like a failure, no matter what it made. The film did $618 million worldwide. A genuinely good result, and because someone had planted $700 million in everyone's head, half the internet called it a disappointment anyway. Job done. So look at the shape of this. When rivals leak the number, it's inflated, so success reads as failure. When the friendly version gets printed, it's deflated, so failure reads as success. Same tool, opposite directions. Supergirl needing $315 million and Superman needing $700 million cannot both be honest maths on films from the same studio 1 year apart with comparable budgets. That's not accounting disagreeing. That's two different PR campaigns using the same stat. And we all just keep repeating whichever one lands in our feed first, like the obedient little engagement metrics we are. So here's where I land. The 315 million number exists so that when Supergirl limps to 320 or 330 million, the headline writes itself. Supergirl breaks even. Not a bomb, nothing to see here. The DCU continues. Please enjoy the next 14 announced projects. That's the job the number was hired to do. The real bar is 425 million plus, and I don't see a route there. And look, in saying that, I'll be honest, the final trailer was genuinely decent. But a good trailer doesn't drag a B-tier character to $425 million. General audiences could not tell you a single thing about Kara Zor-El. They half recognize the name and assume she's Superman's girlfriend. And the release corridor is brutal. Toy Story 5 the week before, Minions 5 days after, Moana 2 weeks out. Every family on the planet is spoken for until August. So who exactly is turning up in week 3? This film bombs, and when it does, watch how fast that $315 million number becomes the official story of why it technically didn't. So the argument in one sentence, break-even numbers aren't maths, they're marketing, and the 315 million figure is there to soften a bomb that's already visible on tracking. June 26th, we find out which one of us is an idiot, me or the spreadsheet. Let me know in the comments, what number do you reckon Supergirl actually finishes on worldwide? And make sure you hit that subscribe button.